Susie Essman. Welcome to the For Your Consideration for Hats. How great was those two first episodes? Please welcome Caitlyn Olsen, who plays DJ. Stalter, who plays Kayla.
She's going potty, but she'll be here very
Okay, she's not here. Paul Downs,
He's
Jimmy,
here.
and the creator, and the showrunner, and the writer, and the director. Lucia Aniello, creator and showrunner,
Hang on.
director.
Do you have toilet paper on your
Oh,
shoe?
here's Megan.
You're good.
Megan, over there. And Lucia directed the first two episodes of also far away. And please welcome Jen Statsky, creator, showrunner, EP, writer. I'm glad you're not sitting next to Meg. And Hannah Einbinder. And you might notice somebody is missing.
You.
She's running late. She's doing a press conference somewhere, I don't know. So, but we're all here. So this first season, this fourth season, feels very different to me. I was watching it, I was thinking, what feels so different? And then I realized it's because it's all about LA. We're not in Vegas anymore. What was that like for you, Jen and Lucia and Paul?
I mean, it was very cool to do a season here in LA. You know, we've been lucky enough that even though people think we shoot in Vegas, we've shot here in LA for the majority of all 4 seasons, and we're very proud to do that. So to get more of the chance to just kind of showcase places we love in LA and do that was great. It also pushed us to like find what hasn't been explored in LA, and so that is where Ava living at the Americana came from. But yeah, I think it was like, it felt like even though other places have explored LA, we hadn't in our way, so it was fun.
And it feels different in the sense that it's, you know, Vegas almost feels like dinky almost compared to LA. You know what I mean? Not that it's a small pond, it's a big pond, but it's not Los Angeles. It's very provincial in that way. Paul, how did it feel different for you?
It felt exactly like that. You know, it felt less provincial. No, I mean, and you know, Helen Hunt beautifully says, as Winnie Lindell, that you know Deborah and Ava are on a bigger stage than they've ever been. They were big fish in a small pond, and now they're on sort of a global stage with this show. So obviously the pressure is huge. Speaking of which, it's a very autobiographical season because we wrote a lot about what it's like to make a show and launch a show and write a show, and so in that way, this is probably the most autobiographical season, and also it allowed us to kind of, you know, explore what we feel is happening in the industry. So get ready for that.
Yeah, and you show, oh, is she here?
Yep.
Here she is, Jean Sport.
All right.
It's nice of you to join us. I should have done that.
Do you have an excuse? Okay.
You want to see Minecraft soon. You don't want someone to spoil it for you. We get it.
We were talking about shooting the show taking place in LA this season and how it feels different. It feels like, you know, big time. Did you feel that?
Oh, no, it was, well, first of all,
We don't shoot that much in Vegas, so we're
Yeah,
only
but just-
shooting annual, but yes, the tone of the show and her talk show, and which was great fun. I got to pretend to be, you know, Jimmy Fallon or whoever I pretended to be. But yeah, no, it did.
You couldn't pick a woman there to pretend to be, because there aren't. But we'll get to that. So, and you also, you guys showcased a lot of, like, you know, there was this, you saw the CBS lot, and you saw Universal, and was that a conscious choice?
Yeah, you know, when we pitched the show, we had pitched it was a character study of this woman and this relationship between these two women who make comedy, but we actually said in the pitch, it was about the offstage moments and the wig off moments. And so in this season, we really got to explore a lot of the backlot, a lot of like historical places in LA, like at Television City. You know, we got to, I think, really sort of do a love letter to the industry and,
Yeah.
to late night and to show business. And you know, the show is a show about show business in a way, but this season it feels much more focused on that.
And the late night aspect, Paul, you mentioned that. I mean, late night is such a huge part of comedy history in our world. I mean, what did that feel like to be focusing on something that's so iconic?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting moment in late night because, as you said, it is an institution. You know, it's an opportunity for people to speak truth to power, to break big comedians, and yet, you know, it's in this weird crossroads. And so for us, you know, to explore what if Deborah Vance was hosting it, you know, we obviously have to explore the idea of the glass cliff and what does it mean to finally give the opportunity to a woman when the institution is, you know, not as healthy as it once was. So a lot of these things I think are kind of a larger part of like the industry ecosystem, yet not really about that. That's kind of more the backdrop of it. Of course, it is still comedy first and based on the relationship between these two women and, you know, whether they can see beyond their differences and settle into what makes them stronger, which is being together.
It also feels like this season is very chica y chica.
Yeah, very chica y chica.
Between Ava and Deborah. I mean, it more so than any other season, it really focuses on the relationship, I think. Am I right about that? I mean,
yeah, very, very much so. I mean, we're always, every season, trying to level up the Deborah-Ava relationship and put a new flavor on it. And, you know, Gene and Hannah play it so beautifully that we kind of know we can push them as far as we want to go, that we can put, you know, they get kind of nasty this season, like nastier than ever probably. And like they can do, but they love each other. Sometimes, yeah. But so we can kind of do anything with them and know that Gene and Hannah are going to deliver on whatever the twist on that dynamic and that relationship is.
And you know, I think just to piggyback on that, I think we try very consciously in the writing to do this, but I think because Gene and Hannah have the chemistry and the relationship that they do, and also because it's so much fun to watch them, and they are just so sympathetic to watch them play these women, that they are able to do it in a way that is rude, but never mean. And I think that's a really, like, a really difficult thing to do. I think you guys are rude, but never mean, and I think that's like...
It's gonna be on my headstone.
I like that.
you know, it felt like in that first episode with that press conference, I felt like all the things that make Deborah, all of a sudden they're trying to cut down, you know? And that's a very hard thing to play when you're playing that part, Gene. That like you embrace this causticness and all of a sudden you have to take your edge off to be on national television. But how did that feel?
That's why having her do the talk show, it was sort of it's such a great backdrop for the show and for the relationship, because it just highlighted everything that they've been kind of butting heads about for the last 4 or 5 years. You know, the whole idea of art versus commerce, you know, and so yeah.
Speaking of art, you're going back to Broadway.
I am.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that Jean is a Tony-nominated actress. What was that for?
Oh, that was for The Man Who Came to Dinner with Nathan Lane.
Oh, I love The Man Who Came to Dinner. I watched that movie the other day with Monty Woolley.
Yeah.
And what are you going to be doing?
I'm doing a one-woman show. God help me. I don't know if I have enough brain cells to learn all the lines, but I'm trying.
Who wrote it?
Jamie Wax.
Okay, don't know him, but I'm sure he's wonderful. It wasn't these guys
Yeah.
who were
Sounds
brilliant.
good.
By the way, how did you keep this level up? I mean, it's like each season gets better and better. I mean, how do you, they're great. I mean, how do you keep that level up in the writing? It's just so good.
Thank you. I mean, that's very sweet of you. You know, I think the truth is the other people on the stage is what makes it possible for us. I mean, like we've gotten to know, obviously, Paul spoke about the Deborah and Ava relationship and being able to write towards that. But the Judy Kayla relationship.
Thank you.
has evolved to a place where like they're this weird kind of mirror couple to Deborah and Ava and have this own odd coupleness to it that has been really fun to watch.
Oh my God, he's grabbing my hand during the Q&A.
Oh, fun. And Caitlyn Olsen has been somebody that we have been like absolutely.
Caitlin, who has a hit show now on ABC. And Caitlin, as we know, you're pregnant, you're having a baby this season.
Yes.
And what do you, I mean, I know my mothering technique was always to think what my mother would do and do the opposite. And I would think DJ would have a similar.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. But I hope she takes it and decides she's going to do the opposite, but then just destroys that whole opposite part. Like, I hope it just goes so poorly.
One of my
A
favorite,
horrible mom in the opposite direction.
one of my favorite lines was when you said, you know, I've got a thriving business and a hot husband and a baby. Who says a woman can't have it all? You bitches need to stop complaining.
Yeah, she's got it all figured out, whatever.
But truly, we've been wanting to work with Caitlyn, you know, since the moment we ever saw her on TV. So it really is like an honor to continue to write episodes centered around her because she's like truly.
I love you, and this character is so special to me. I love her so much, and I just, it's such an honor to read these scripts and see what I get to do. So thank you for writing such fun things for me.
Didn't you always describe her as a 16-year-old and a 40-year-old,
Yeah, like an
40-year-old
angsty
body?
teenager in a 40-something-year-old body.
She does have an arrested development for sure.
Yeah, and what's interesting about your character and Meg's character is both of your characters have a cluelessness of like
What do you mean?
like a lack of self-awareness, yet very grounded. But
We're confused on what you mean by that.
but Meg, how do you know balance that of the groundedness of the character who's very much in reality but completely clueless at the same time?
Oh, I love that question. I don't know, but I do know that is something that I always strive to do, is push things to the absolute limit without going over into like cartoon land. Like,
Yeah.
I think there is a way to make a character really big and beautiful and ridiculous and still ground it in humanness. And I think that's so important, because the second it tips over, it's just not funny to me anymore.
I'm just being myself. No, I'm not. Some people think that I'm like her, and
She's not.
I'm not like her at all. I don't want attention. At all, and this is just something I found playing around. I think that I am different than her. Don't you guys think? Okay. No, I think that I'm more self-aware than Kayla is. We're both really sexual and of course, but no, I'm kidding. But I think I like to play people that are nervous and confident at the same time, and I think that maybe that is what I have in common with Kayla. So I think it's fun to be really confident and nervous. So that's what I try to do.
What's going to happen in the business with you two? Who's the boss?
Well, that's the
It's
question.
Kayla.
That's
Oh.
the different question. Oh.
I think we're gonna have a couple kids, start a family.
You know, this is just a little side story, but Cola Scola was a consultant on the first season, and after the first season aired, we had like a 2-week period we wrote with them, and after the first season aired, they texted me and said, well, Jimmy and Kayla are gonna get married. And I was like, you think so?
Meg does think so.
Meg definitely thinks so.
I do not think they're gonna get married. I don't think that they're into each other in that way, but I do think that Kayla's gonna get pregnant after a crazy night, and then Jimmy's gonna step up and be the father.
Season 5.
Could you imagine the pregnancy test in a coffee she delivers to him in the morning?
Kayla?
Gene liked it! Gene was laughing! You think they should do that, Gene? Okay. Well, I'm in the writer's room next season. No, I'm kidding.
So, Jean, how does Deborah feel about being a grandmother?
Oh, how does Deborah feel about being a grandmother?
Yeah.
Well, she's sort of instructed everyone to call her Aunt Deborah. So that's how she feels.
Yeah. It's a little weird to be called grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I have that experience. Now, you guys, Deborah and Ava, Hannah and Jean, she has her own. I feel like this blackmail thing.
The show.
I feel like you're going over the line blackmailing. And I don't know if she's ready to run a late night show.
Thank you.
I feel, well, that's a whole other world. I feel like the love language has changed between you. Do you feel that? Do you feel like, how so? Well, it's gotten more contentious. There was always this ribbing thing, and she would make fun of your clothes and all that. But now it's gotten, it's dark. We're talking blackmail.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that's what I would say to that would just be that, Ava was kind of put in a position where she had no choice, as you guys saw, right? We were all there. I would say that, she was kind of, her hands were tied. So, yeah. But I think that their dynamic, I don't think anything has really changed fundamentally in Ava morally. I do think that she's been put in this position where she is. What's changed about their dynamic is usually they are working together in some capacity, and they really are standing in each other's way of making this show work. I think Ava comes from this place of this sort of Daily Show, Trevor Noah, John Oliver type place, and she's trying to make this show like that. And I think Deborah, for kind of her resentment, is kind of standing in the way. And so, yeah, they do butt heads in this new way, and I think the central thing, like you said, the ribbing still exists, but it's actually not for sport as much as it was. It's now
Serious.
Legitimate, yeah.
Yeah.
Blood.
Yeah.
Blood.
It's a real world. She's thinking John Oliver, you're thinking, Johnny. Different Johnny.
Beautiful downtown Burbank.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different world. Hannah, you mentioned, speaking of talk show hosts, you mentioned on Colbert that you think that, there should be some kind of romance going on.
I was sort of referencing sort of the outcry, you could call it, the grassroots movement of lesbians who have been sort of advocating for that. And I was speaking to that. I'm really in touch with my constituency. I hear you. I see you. I feel you. I am you. But yeah, I get a lot of messages about that. And so I was kind of just speaking to that. I mean, that's for the chiefs over here, the bosses.
So, but fans actually say that to you?
Of course.
Yeah. Jen?
I see the messages too.
I've heard a couple.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple.
So what do you think?
Well, it is a love story.
Yeah.
It is a love story.
Yeah.
And I think we've been touching on this, I think that the friction between them is their love language. I think comedians rib each other, and that's what they do, and they love doing it. And yes, because of the pressures of this network show, the stakes are much higher, and they do have different ideas and different philosophies. And like June said, this is kind of like the ultimate stage on which to examine the thing that they talk about in the first season, when she says, I don't want to write jokes for Panera people in the desert. And she says there's a lot of people in the cafeteria. Don't write just for the cool kids. You know, they have this opposing viewpoint, and now we're on a stage where it's really under a microscope. And so I think that does make it feel more intense, and yet I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think it's like actually, it's more passionate, I find, this season, in a way that I'm like, they really need each other and they really love each other. And it's, you can see it when Ava in that moment thinks Deborah's trying to reconcile with that hug. How she settles into it and wants it so badly.
Yeah.
And then realizes that this woman is
Like that, or do you hate it?
Yeah, but this woman is psychotically.
You know, the crowd feels like, that like she's kind of, what's her fault, it's like, feels like her heart's in the right place, just from based on what I heard from the crowd.
Well, and you know, not to spoil for the crowd, but I do think also Ava made this choice to blackmail because she's not only doing it for herself and because she believes she deserves that job. She thinks the show will be better with her. And so it is ultimately altruistic as well.
So you really believe that, Hannah?
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they can have one crazy night together, though.
They have a couple.
Maybe you guys have one crazy night. Maybe you don't end up like kissing, but one wacky night. I don't know.
What do you like cartoon, like laser tag?
Like maybe
or
you guys
what?
kiss, but the next morning you're like, I don't know what happened.
What? Yeah, what was that? Yeah.
But you both wanted to just get some tension out. I don't know. You guys go to a water park hotel.
Yeah, okay.
And
That could be
one thing
yeah.
leads to another. I don't know.
Super intimate.
Never say never, I guess. I feel like I have to say that.
We did kiss in that dream scene.
Yes.
And I've kissed Chris. So I figured I should kiss every single member of the cast at least once.
I'm not opposed to it.
Okay.
That's interesting. You said that idea when I was saying an idea. So maybe you're trying to have a crazy day with Kayla.
Kayla is.
She does. Okay. Yes. Nobody remembers in the first season when Kayla had one little moment with her.
We won't spoil anything, but Kayla has a very major moment with her this
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Oh, good. I look forward to
Big
it.
Deborah, Kayla.
They have a big kiss. Right before her first. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
What's the symbolism of the coyote? I used to live in a house with coyotes in my backyard. It's fucking scary.
Yes, we do have coyotes in our backyard, so that is where that came from. But it really is like the different vipers, and yes, I know viper is a different animal, but the vipers in Deborah's life that are, you know, whether it's the Ava or Marcus coming after her in her eyes, or Winnie coming after her, like there is kind of these predators kind of stalking her, and they just won't get out of her way. And so I think at the end of the second episode, she really realizes there's a certain amount of unmovable object, especially when it comes to Ava, and she can't just plow over it. She needs to actually deal with it and try to make a reluctant truce. We'll see how long that lasts. But that she really has been missing the forest for the trees in her feud, and so that's kind of what that's about.
Yeah, the stakes are just a lot higher this season.
Yeah.
A lot higher. How did you feel to work with, I don't want to be a spoiler, but you did a scene with Carol Burnett, who was my idol, my personal
my
idol.
God.
What was that like?
Well, I had actually worked with her once before I did an episode of Hot in Cleveland, and she played my mom.
Oh, really?
Yes. She is a dear. We sort of keep running into each other over the years for various reasons, but no, if I can be her when I'm 91, I'll be the luckiest woman in the world. She is so sharp, she is so funny, she's so down to earth and kind and sweet. She's just amazing. And I did an interview with her the other day on the phone, and I had been watching some episodes of her show. There was an episode where she plays Norma Desmond,
Yeah.
you know, and she's coming down the circular staircase, and she's got the 20s outfit on, the long beads, and she finally makes it to the bottom of the stairwell. She kind of tosses her beads like this, and they just twirls her around, she goes right down under her tailbone. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not using my mic. And I said, how did you like hurt yourself? She said, all of those stunts, all those years on that show, one day she had to fall down a flight of stairs 9 times, never once an injury, not one single injury.
Wow.
She was born to be a perfect physical clown.
Yeah.
And I mean clown in a very artistic way. She's the perfect clown.
They used to just look like they were having so much fun on that show.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, that's a treat. There's a lot of great guest stars who we can't really spoil for you guys. But, oh wait, hold on. So I know what I want to talk about. How do you feel about the fact that the only woman in late night is fictional? It's Deborah Vance is the only woman in late night. What does that say?
The women aren't funny.
I mean, I remember when we did the Blue Sky, and I said that.
So Susie was a part of our writing team in season 3, and so she the first thing she said is, "Would never happen."
I was right, because it only happened in fiction. And that's the beauty of fiction, is that you could fix things and make them right, which you've done beautifully. You know, I mean, and you make it amazing.
So we wish it weren't the case that it only existed in our world.
I know, somebody said to me last season, I watched the show and I forgot Deborah Vance wasn't real. And I
Well, that's
wish
a
Deborah
great
Vance was
compliment.
real, and I think people really feel it this
She's real.
I know, she's real. But you know, they were actually like, when was the first time I saw her comedy? You know, they actually were like lost in it, and they were like, oh, on Hacks, it's a fictional character. But I think people really feel that way this year.
Treating Mercer in the real world, especially with those so many guest cameos as themselves, that it does feel, I think, more like this is a real person. So, I mean, obviously we can't make a late night show exist and be successful, but, you know, at least in this world, it can feel like that for 5 hours.
But that is the brilliance of the show, is that people actually think it's real. That's the brilliance of the writing and the acting, that we believe that about you. You know, I mean, the stand-up stuff that you've done over the years, even the opening monologues in the show, that's not easy to do. I've been doing it for 45 fucking years. It's not easy.
Yeah, but your audience wasn't paid to laugh.
That's true. But you made it look as though it was real.
Jean does an incredible job at the stand.
I mean, you guys were
Jean
paid.
also is making them laugh.
And it also, I mean, the show is so grounded. It's like what I was saying to Kaitlin and Meg before. The show itself is so grounded in a reality, and at the same time has the over-the-top moments. I mean, how do you create that balance?
Yeah, I mean, seamlessly, as you can tell. You know, I think the tone is something the three of us are constantly talking about and kind of policing, like as we are writing and then as we go into prep and shooting. It's just something that you're always kind of monitoring, like, does this feel real and grounded, but is it funny? And I mean, like you were saying, it's a testament to every single actor up here and Lucia's direction and Paul's direction, that you can write that and you can write a tone that's very difficult to execute, but if you don't have then the direction and the acting to support that, it's a disaster. So, you know, it's a really everybody pitching in and doing their part to make it happen.
And sometimes people, like, life can be insanely broad sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can, you know, it isn't. And so for us, it is kind of like trying to make sure that, it just feels like, I'm saying, a cohesive thing, where like, sometimes it's really sad, sometimes it's so sad that you can't help but laugh, and that's actually where you laugh the hardest. So we're really just always trying to balance really what is reality, which is often stranger than fiction. So we're often trying to just like monitor that.
And even though it is our goal and that's how we try and write it, it is really because all of these actors are gifted comedians, but also dramatic actors. They all bring the heart to the characters in a way that makes it feel so lived in and so real. And I think in the hands of, you know, other people, it might not feel that way. It feels so real. I mean, we do have the cheat code of it being about comedians, people who write comedy, who perform comedy, so they get to speak in punchlines and deliver jokes and be hard funny, but I think everybody, those who don't play comedians, are so funny and so touching in equal measure in a way that I'm always like, how did we get so lucky? All these people are so good.
You wrote really good stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, Caitlin. I mean, that is true, but it really, it's all script. I mean, if it's not on the paper,
It starts there.
yeah,
Right.
it's not there, right, Jean? I mean, you've been doing this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I first read the pilot, I mean, it was all there. Everything I could have hoped for. Every single thing was already there on the page.
Right, and then you hire brilliance, and it brings it to life. Speaking of which, you have Meryl Marco. And Meryl Marco, for those of you who don't know, was one of the original head writers on, I think she was the first woman to be a head writer on.
She co-created the show.
Excuse me?
She co-created Letterman.
She on David Letterman's original show, and she's one of the funniest people I know. I mean, read her Substack stuff; it is so entertaining. But what was it like to have her on set?
Yeah, she plays one of Deborah's late night writers, because we felt like, in the same world of keeping it really real, Deborah would want somebody of that stature to be on the writing staff. So we actually have her playing herself.
She was also a consultant this year, and she was so helpful, in like talking about what it was like to be in that pressure cooker of a late night room and to churn it out every single day. It has to be funny every single day, 5 shows a week. And so we were like, would you ever be on the show? We didn't think she was going to necessarily say yes, and she was like, yeah.
Dry.
So dry and so funny.
Very
She is
funny.
so
Meryl
funny.
is so funny.
Yeah.
And like as you said, she's a late night writer, a legendary late night writer. So she's coming with like tags, and she's like bringing jokes. Like she's so funny, so dry, the coolest energy. Like I'm so excited for people to get to like see her face and for her to be performing, because she is so integral to late night history.
Yeah, and then like look her up and look what she did, because this season very much so we wanted it to feel like a love letter to late night and all the people that have been important in the history of this institution. So it was, we wanted to have her, and hopefully when people watch the show, as we kind of did a good job, I hope, of kind of honoring late night, it's also important to us because it's such an important moment in our culture. Like late night used to be the thing that united people. There were 3 late night shows, and you would actually watch, and you would be commenting on the news, and there was a sense of, I think, togetherness that late night brought to our culture and to our country. And so hopefully this is our way of kind of speaking to that and honoring the institution, because it is an important institution, I think, for people still to feel together in some connectedness.
And it's different than it used to be. It used to be,
Certainly, yeah.
you did a shot on Johnny that made your career. It's not the same as it was. When you guys first pitched the show, you pitched 5 seasons. You had that. Is the 5th season already mapped out?
For the most part.
And does Kayla get pregnant with?
Yes.
Yes, she does. I mean, it was supposed to be a surprise, but yeah.
Triplets. And she can't tell them apart. She has to give them tattoos.
Then child services comes. It gets sad.
She gets arrested.
It's very sad.
Custody of the kids. You have to pick me up. It's so funny.
So, if I recall, now, did you shoot after the fires?
Yes, we shot
Before and after, during, yeah. I mean, not during,
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's right. Oh my God. For a couple more weeks. Yeah.
And if I recall, when I was in season 2, Jean's house was in Altadena, wasn't it? Is that house gone?
It was sadly lost in the fires, yeah.
Pink house.
That was a beautiful old house. Wow. Yeah. What was, if I could, without any spoilers, what was your favorite location to shoot at in LA? Because this season is kind of a love letter to LA, I feel.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, honestly, that house, from the moment we started shooting it, we loved it because it just felt so beautiful and, I don't know, iconic and like old school. And there's been Charlie Chaplin shot in that house. I mean, that's a like iconic piece of LA. And we were so welcomed by the people of Altadena because we've been shooting there a lot, not just her house, but we just shot there a lot. Because we like how it was like funky
and like unique and different, and so, and you know, so it's not a specific place, but I guess it is. Deborah's LA mansion and Altadena honestly was always been our favorite corner.
Anybody else?
I would say the Comedy Store for me, when I, just personal like anecdote is that like when I started doing stand-up, every Monday I would go to the Comedy Store with like 200 comics and we'd all put our name on this list at 5 p.m. and then 16 names would be called, and then you'd go up at like 6 in the original room and it was still light out, and it was like really a hard spot, and you're like playing to all the other bitter comics who didn't get picked and the booker, and you got 3 minutes, and like it's very hard to get on the list, and it takes like years for people to work their way up through the system, and that's like one of the areas in LA that I started when I was doing stand-up, so it was like it's definitely a sentimental location, and to be there and to like shoot there, and to our DP Adam put up some really cool lights and almost like enhanced it in this way, those red like beams. Yeah, it just was like cool to be there and just to like walk those halls. Like for me personally, I was just kind of like having kind of like a full circle moment with it.
Does it feel really different for you now that you've been on this show since, what was the first year?
21.
You're 21, so for 4 years, and in stand-up life, 4 years is like a million years. So now you got your spots. Now now people know who you are when you get on stage. How different is that for you, Hannah?
It is, you know, it's funny because it's like Deborah experiences this thing, season, is it season 3? Yeah, where she has this like experience of being like, okay, I haven't really like said anything funny yet, and you're laughing. It's like that thing. I, luckily, or not luckily, don't experience that. My crowds keep me honest. I have found that it, like, well, I am so lucky that the show I'm on is not like a cop procedural. You know what I mean? It's like the
Okay,
demo.
take it easy. God forbid, Hannah.
No. You know what I'm saying? The demo.
Oh, wouldn't that be horrible?
The demo of people.
It's fine.
You dug yourself into that one.
Just, what I meant was like 911, like a medic show.
Yeah.
Came up and they cut my mic. Like, I'm lucky that the people who watch Hacks are interested in seeing women comedians speak. You know what I mean? Like, the people who watch this show are comedy fans, and so they come to my shows, and I feel like it has given me the audience that I have always searched for and that I have always wanted. And like, as a comedian, like, especially because like I am more alternative, like, it has given me like the smart people who watch the, and like this show. Okay.
Next question.
You know
You
what?
guys
I
should
look.
have a dance off. Dance off! Dance off!
We should have a baby.
I look at all of you beautiful women in Paul, and it feels like to me that this show has changed all of your lives in a very significant way. And am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great thing, and there's more to come. There's more to come. So thank you, everybody.